situated yet. My head's still a little spinning.
Okay, we'll begin the meeting. Call to order. Appreciate everybody showing up. Next on the agenda here, we have approval of the agenda. You want to add or take away anything from this agenda? Okay, if we don't take, if everything's good, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor of saying aye?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion carries. Public comments, we have nobody that requests to speak, so we'll move on from there. Approve and modify previous meeting minutes.
Motion approved?
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Which he can have it.
Okay, Frankie, second. Any discussion? If there is none, we'll move on. All in favor of saying aye? All opposed? Okay. Everybody had a chance to look at the write-offs and sign off on it. Probably did that before we started this meeting, but it's like $15,000 for the write-offs. So, that being said, I entertain a motion to approve the
I'll make a
write-offs.
motion.
Second.
Missy, motion, Frank second. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Quarterly report, I talked to Mariana during one of our budget meetings, and she's on vacation, said she wasn't gonna be here, so, she said everything's fine, everything's going, running smooth, that she expects to receive more money in this month and coming months, so, but right now, everything looks fine. So, if y'all have any questions on that or the paper that you got, we can discuss it, but, if not, we'll move on. Okay? All right, director's report.
All right. Responses for last month, 922, down from 929 the previous month, and down from 1,036 previous year. Average calls per day, however, is still just a little up. And then average calls per month, 941, compared to last year at 973. And then your totals for this current year to date, which of course is only 3 months, versus last year's total for all 12. So that just kind of keeps us tracking to see, compared to last year, how our call volume's doing in the big numbers. By zone, North was a little up at 198. New Union was a little down. And of course, Manchester is the one that always fluctuates, but nothing out of the standard way that they deviate. All these times, again, you can see in parentheses the average since July of 13, so you're looking at 10, 11 years worth of data, and they all are within seconds of each other, so it all just chugs along. Mileage on the units, because of staffing issues, we can't rotate the ambulances quite like we used to, and so, like you can see, one unit has gotten ahead of the one above it by a few miles. That's mostly just because of lack of rotation. We're going to work on trying to figure out a way to move those around where we can kind of keep that mileage smoothed out a little bit. Other than that, fleet's in good shape. No major issues. Still 7 openings. They would all need to be medics. We have one person out with a shoulder injury still, and one out with a knee injury still. Both of those have been out for some time. I spoke with one of them, the knee one, today, and that employee is hoping for a June 1 return. She had the surgery, then they had to redo the surgery, They postponed this, you know, it's just classic story. Nothing was going right. She's doing rehab, but so we're hoping. Other than that, of course, the other two schools are basically out. Medic school ends here fairly soon, and we've got that one in medic school. Staffing for last month looked better. Only one bad day for the whole month. Really bad day, I call it. But the numbers looked better. They looked better than they did a year ago at this time, and felt better. Starting to get more days with 5 crews, which is good. And that's all I got.
Okay. Any questions for Michael? I got one. It's not really related to your report. You sent all the stuff off to Bonnaroo or to
The letter of,
The letter of
intent.
of
we call
intent.
it. Uh-huh.
so that all that's gone and taken care of and all that,
Yeah, we talked, well, email back and forth,
right?
but yes. We had-
Okay. So that's,
I-
okay.
I wanted to make sure our rate was in the letter. Normally it had not been. It was
Right.
just saying we would do it. But because we had talked and we talked about making sure, and so I said, I want that in there. And so I added that and he was fine with it. So it's there.
Okay. That's the only question I had. Ain't got any other questions? Okay. We'll move on to unfinished business, update resolutions. Frank, we heard anything from CTAS?
No,
So,
no, not yet.
okay, and I don't think we need to move on or do anything to it till we hear anything back from them, so, but we'll just keep bringing this up until we hear something.
Did we finish? I know we had talked about you getting a list of the medications that may be a little more progressive and
Protocols.
and where are we at on that?
Had a long talk with Dr. Christopher yesterday?
Yesterday
Yeah,
was the last
yesterday morning.
conversation.
Went through the list, and he basically, you know, picked the ones that he felt like were just redundant. So there were like 3 different benzodiazepines on the list. We don't see a reason to carry 3 different drugs that literally do basically the same thing. And so he said, let's carry the one that we already carry, and things like that. Insulin is on the list. We don't have refrigerators, so we can't carry insulin. So we took that off the list. So short answer, I have the now list that he has agreed to approve. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Cindy is ordering me a copy of Adobe's editing software because the protocols are in a PDF from the state, and so I can't edit them
Yeah.
until I get, so that's on order for me to go through and edit where he, mostly, again, back to where it would say, what it would do is it would say, give Valium or Versed or, I don't remember the third one, meaning whatever a service had. But because it's in there, we felt like legal liability-wise, that could get us in trouble since all 3 are listed.
Yeah,
So basically, we're gonna drop the 2 that we don't carry and say, give this one.
we carry midazolam or what do you carry?
Versed, yeah. So that's the one we carry, use that one. Rather than it have 3 listed and have somebody question, well, why didn't you give this one? And we don't carry that one. Well, if you don't carry that one, why is it in your protocols? That kind of, you know. So that's mostly the editing, is just removing those multiple choice questions when we have a specific one we're going to use.
Were there any drugs there that he just said, I don't want that drug carried, or?
The only one that could be a spot of contention is ketamine. He does not like us carrying ketamine. I agree with him, but it's the popular drug now. It's the one everybody wants, and you can see the audience shaking their head back there. It's sadly, it's like, okay, I don't want to say this, but it's like a trend. It's like, you know, this is the popular one now. 6 months from now, it'll fade away. Some new drug will come out, and it'll be the popular one. Versed will sedate a patient enough for what we do to get them to a hospital. Ketamine is very dose dependent, and I'm sorry, I'm only looking at him. And so it's one where if you give too little or too much, it has a whole different effect on your patient. And in the field, in the heat of battle, that's a tougher one. All of the lawsuits that I've seen relevant to ketamine are based on the lawyer arguing that you didn't get the patient's weight and make your dose appropriate. You just gave him the whole amp. And that is what they do. And so I worry, and so does Dr. Christopher, that it opens us up to a big liability window.
Okay.
That's the only one that I think some of your medics are still gonna be like, they want that one. So,
Okay.
again,
What about protocols, you know, not necessarily drugs, but,
no changes. Now, when we got to all of the hazmat ones that we talked about last meeting, I basically told him that you and the fire chiefs, we were all gonna kinda get together and see which of those things we should carry. He's fine with any of them that we wanna carry. You know, some of them are $3,000 a dose, times 8 ambulances for that once in 30 years that you need it. You start having to weigh, and of course, I've told this board multiple times, I'll put anything you'll pay for on the truck. That doesn't faze me a bit to put it on there. But that's where you start having to weigh out, you know, just like the hospitals here don't have 24-hour cath lab. Not that they couldn't, they just don't want to spend the money to do it. It's a financial decision based on the need. And so that's a conversation I think we need to have with the fire chiefs and get their input on which ones they feel like are a big enough threat to warrant
Right,
having it.
funding, yeah.
Other than that, he did not modify, we shouldn't do this, we should do that.
so the list, the drug list, was that a state? Where did you get the original drug list?
I had a subcommittee go through the protocols and list every drug that was in a protocol.
Okay,
That's where that list came from. That's every drug that we didn't carry. They didn't list the ones that we already had.
those are protocols from,
From the state.
From the
State
state.
Medical Director, Dr. Holly, Joe Holly, lost his name, puts out the state EMS division's protocols periodically. I won't say every
Okay.
year or every 2 years, I don't know what is, but randomly, he updates them. He creates them, the state EMS board approves them, and then they push them out. Here's what the state thinks is the standard of care. You can add to them if you want to. You can take away from them if you want to. My opinion has always been to try to stay very close to them because, again, it's a liability issue. If we're doing what the state medical director says, if you've got a problem with that, you need to take that up with the state medical director, you know, as opposed to us saying, well, we want to make our own,
sure.
and now we've got to defend them.
So are there any, you know, I know we've talked a lot about scope of practice. Is there anything in that scope of practice that the state is doing or in that protocol list that we're not doing, that we're not allowing our medics to do in the field?
No. RSI was the big one that was in there. It's not in the current list. Rapid sequence intubation. And it's been dropped from the state protocols. I don't know why. But other than that,
Can't think of anything.
that's
other
why
than
we had them
that.
go through the list, try to find, you know, were there places that we aren't, like you say, aren't doing something.
Yeah.
And no, we didn't find anything in the current list that our medics can't do.
So are we having any pushback from medics much about expanding the scope of practice that?
Not so far, but I will add a cravat that we've not got the new protocols out for them to see yet. They can see them on the state's website, so they know what they are. But until we say, here they are, I can't swear they're not gonna say, well, why not this and where's that, you know?
Yeah.
Until we actually say, here's the list. And it's a document that's live. It can always be edited if we decide. So if they say we want this, and I come here and say they want this, and y'all say okay, we edit it, and now it's there.
If they're coming to you with these questions, that's something that you would bring on to us.
Sure.
Okay.
But they know it's in process, and the committee I created was employees So their input would be there.
Okay.
That, the three
So-
people that reviewed it are three of my current employees.
So we can expect by next meeting, you'll have that list of programs.
I think so. Once I get the editing software where I can edit it, Dr. Christopher, as I said, has already read through it, already looked at the list. I think that's an easy,
So,
for him to be
Should
on
no-
board.
Right, should be no reason.
So it should be an easy one.
All right, I got one little question.
All right?
The paramedics, AMTs, and EMTs, are they being able to perform up to their education?
Based on our current protocols, yes. That's why we're updating protocols. So some of the new protocols have a couple of things that aren't in our old protocols.
Yeah, I mean, I know the protocols, they will be able to do more,
Yes,
but
But
now they're
up-
being able,
Yeah,
they're
they-
performing to,
to what our current protocols
What our
are, which
current
was the
protocols
last
are.
version, that we approved.
okay. Is that, let's see, what am I trying to say here? Is that to their training? I mean, paramedic training,
So if you've got an AMT who, say, just finished school,
right,
they're gonna learn things that they're not able to do yet until we get these new protocols in place.
right,
Because now I will say this, a protocol says, Dr. Christopher says you can do these things without having to ask anybody.
right.
You can always contact medical control and say, I want to do this, and if that ER doc says go ahead and you're trained, you can do that. So they're not
They're not
able.
Able, they're not
It-
bound by.
They would
that.
just have to contact medical control because our current protocols don't give them that blanket permission.
Right,
I think that kind of relates to his question.
right.
So is our new protocols gonna be more in their scope of, has some things changed? Where it's gonna
A
be
few
more in their
things,
scope of practice that they've learned?
This is my opinion. Let me make that clear. It appears that we are expanding the AMT, the advanced EMT's level of practice because we don't have enough medics nationwide, not we locally. So most of the changes are in what AMTs can do. Because, again, it looks to me like we're basically saying, okay, if we can't get enough medics, let's push some of these skills down a level and let them do them. Okay, I get, it helps solve the problem. So, that's where the new protocols are. They have a few things that they could do that used to be a medic skill. And so, again, it's just a matter of getting them approved or contacting medical control and saying, I've got this patient, here's what's wrong, I want to do this. ER doc says, okay, they've been trained in that in their school, then they can do it. So they're not restricted, they just have to call and get permission.
Right, and from what I'm hearing, the state's gonna broaden that AEMT, what they can perform, what they
Right.
can do.
Because, again,
That's on down the road, but they're fixing to,
and obviously, new protocols
Right.
will have to happen
there'll be
then.
new protocols, but I've
But
heard
that's a
something like they're
constant
fixing a
thing.
bridge, like maybe possibly a bridge program or something like that.
That they are exploring every option
Right,
for the same reason we are, trying to
Right.
figure out how to keep the ambulances staffed and with, quality people that can do what needs done to a patient.
that seems to be the trend that they're looking toward is the AEMT expanding that.
Right, expanding their
that role,
practice.
That practice. Okay.
But if they're trained in it, they could do it now. They just have to call medical control.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? We're good? Okay. New business. The memorandum, MOU memorandum of understanding between Tullahoma Fire and Coffee County EMS.
So we talked about that last meeting. It was basically, everybody agreed on it then. It was just a matter of editing the document and getting all the signatures on it, which I got you to sign. Basically, their assistant chief, I believe I got the right, I believe it's
For
Zach is the assistant.
Zach.
Yes.
That's right.
Went through paramedic school, he's a paramedic, and so we basically have expanded it to say anybody there can work at their level of training. Excuse me. And currently, he's the only one.
Right.
And so that's gonna be a rarity, but obviously, as busy as we are, if he can be on a scene and do a skill, we want him to do it. We don't wanna restrict him.
And he's been employed he was employed at one time with Coffee County too, right? Was that not correct? Am I wrong on that?
I don't recall it if he was.
I don't remember it, I'll
Okay,
say
he
that.
may not have been. I thought
Some
he
of them,
was.
several of them have. I don't,
Okay.
I can't swear one way or
And
the
it
other
may-
on
I know
him.
he was employed with Moore County at one time. so.
Could be, yeah. And is competent. I feel very comfortable with him
Right.
as his medic skills. So,
Okay.
that's really the only thing we changed was we'd already moved it up from the original when Larry was here,
Mm-hmm.
and then Zach wanted to move it up, and I couldn't see a reason not to.
Okay.
And the board, well, like I said, we talked about it last meeting.
All right. Any questions on that? If not, we'll move on to the mayor's proposed 24-25 budget.
So you should have a copy in your packet. Budgets had to be turned in by the end of February. We turned them in. Different from the past, the now deceased mayor said, I'm gonna review every one of these, and he did. And then Budget and Finance sent out the document that you have, which is basically the one that we've worked off already, and it just has, the last column says the mayor's budget, as opposed to the one next to it saying our budget request. The only differences are in payroll. Everything else, he basically agreed to the same thing that we requested. But in the payroll category, where we'd asked for more, he basically took that out and just went with a 4 or 5%, I can't remember now which. 5, that he basically was wanting across the board. The only other one that in contention is Lori's, because we'd asked for an increase because of a title change and a responsibility increase. So I had asked for more because of that, not because of anything else. And he took that out and put it back at the 5%. And he and I did not have a conversation about that. So I assume he just didn't understand that we'd changed it and added responsibilities to her task. So that one concerns me. And obviously, this board has wanted that $4 increase that is now not in there. And so I bring it back to this board to ask, how would y'all like to proceed?
Have you already presented?
Have you presented to the-
No, I've not had my meeting yet with them.
Is yours next Thursday?
It's not, I've not been made aware, and I saw the agenda, and it was not on it.
And so you said this has been through Budget and Finance?
Has
No.
not.
No, has not.
Has not been through that?
No.
So who,
Because he hasn't been before the.
He's not been before
He's not
Budget
been
and
before
Finance
Budget and
yet.
Finance to,
so who
present
took
or
that, who,
propose.
who did you say took that
The
$4?
mayor.
Okay.
The previous mayor did like he did the year before, Dr. Keel. He went through everybody's budget and did a proposal. And then when you went to Budget and Finance, you could address those
Yeah,
individually with Budget and Finance.
I got you. And so this was Mayor Matheny that took it
Yes.
out. And so will
So-
this need to have Mayor Hunt look at it then again, or is this?
So-
is this
No,
gonna go
it
just
would
to
be
Budget and
go,
Finance
it
like
would go
this?
to, it would be up to Mike when Michael goes to Budget and Finance to then address that.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think it changes anything I've requested.
No.
This was just his opinion, and so Budget and Finance now has my opinion and his opinion, and then I try to defend why mine is different,
Absolutely.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah, you can present that.
So I don't know.
I was thinking it was this Thursday, but I don't,
That's what I was thinking, but I haven't seen it.
I'll look at the agenda again, the one I saw,
Well,
EMA
Mike-
is in this one.
No, EMA was, this
EMA was
Thursday.
last Thursday.
We have another one next Thursday.
Okay,
I
I've
don't
not
think we-
seen,
I
I may
don't think
not
we got
have
the
seen that
agenda
one.
what
yet.
I would
I think we got
recommend,
the-
I'd recommend you call, the mayor's office, I guess, and check and see if you're on there, on that schedule, and if you're not, get put on for Thursday. Unless they've got 6 or 7 already lined up, which I don't know if they do or not.
And I assume somebody on that committee
We've
was,
been through quite a bit, we were almost done with
deciding.
them, yeah.
who came when. And I may be on it, and I just hadn't seen it yet.
Okay,
Yeah, I haven't
call
seen it.
Sam and check and make sure, and if not, request to be put on
Okay.
there.
So,
Unless he's got you scheduled,
2 weeks out or something.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah, I'll call and find out. So I think given that, this board doesn't need to take any action unless y'all want to change what we're trying to talk to budget about, based on the mayor's thoughts, I guess is really the only
I
thing.
don't think we need any action, we just need to, request what we want and
And then go from there.
go from there.
Okay, but I just wanted y'all to be aware, this is what he came back with.
Yeah, because we're not taking, we're just listening, not taking any action or any, it's more.
And explain that $4 when you present your budget.
Right. Okay. So I don't think it requires anything other than now you're aware.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any statements or anything they want to bring out or say? Or statements or anything? If not, and if everybody's good, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Meeting adjourned.
Darn, that was easy peasy, wasn't it?